Good morning and welcome to the Battle Companies podcast. Kicking off the week with Battle Companies chat. Your host, as always, are the man.
Hello.
We have OT.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, this one isn't making the cut, is it?
Good morning, welcome to the Hobby Breakfast Show, kicking off your morning with Wargaming Chat. Your host this week, as always, are myself, Arnold. We have the Mayor.
Hello.
And we also have OT.
Hi.
He wasn't expecting me to
let you pause.
So we had a massive pause. There we go, good. Right, and this week we're going to be continuing our look at profile. We're going to be looking at the Elves and the Army of the Southlands. Stay tuned. Hobby.
I also took my 500-point Goblin army out of their box.
And took a picture.
Of it.
Does that count as hobby, taking models out of storage?
Did I touch a Wargaming model?
I hope not. Sounds a little bit dodgy.
Well,
please deny it.
Technically, I touched 65 Goblin models, so there's no getting away from it, really.
You've been getting legal advice from Kevin Spacey. Jesus Christ.
I think we might have to cut that for Mayor's reputation.
I don't care.
It gets worse.
I'm complicit, it's fine.
Shall I just bleep it out?
Which part? The whole
Just
thing?
every word.
5 minutes of bleeping.
Just every other word.
Good. Well, that really some great hobby there. Taking models out of their case. Good. And
Touching them.
Assembling them.
You didn't assemble them. They're already assembled. They're already painted.
Yeah, but I had to see what they look like for the 500-point games.
Oh, Christ.
And as it turns out, it's vaguely terrifying.
OT, you have done some hobby, I hope.
I have.
And that is?
Well.
Yes.
Yeah, I was right to say this is the fun interactive section where I say the same thing I've been saying for the last 3 months. However, there is a slight difference today. I found the sprue with my foot banner on and stuck him together because I lost the sprue.
Yay.
But they are, and by the time I send pictures and stuff, this will all be done. So they are actually finally finished, and with 6 days to spare. All that's left to do is one foot banner, which should take probably an evening, and yeah, then they're ready to go. Which I'm pretty proud of. I mean, I've got no idea how to play them. I'm fairly convinced I'm going to lose almost every game, but it was worth it for the friends we made along the way.
Good. I have done nothing this week.
Perfect.
It'll be I think that actually will be the shittest hobby section we've ever had.
Did you take anything out of the box?
Done none.
Let's just summarize the hobby section.
Okay.
Mayor took some models he's already assembled and painted out of the box.
And fondled them.
OT finished painting some models he's been painting for 3 months, and which we mentioned every week that this podcast has existed.
Yeah.
And I did nothing. So we are going to then be discussing 2 more Rings of Power army lists. We're going to be kicking off with the Elves. The Kingdom of Lindon is the army list. And first of all, let's run over the army bonus. This one is created by me, by the way, dear listener. So you can tell it's going to be of exceptional quality and not in any way overpowered. The army bonus then is that you roll a d3 before the start of your first turn. You keep note of this result as your valor points, I've named it. And then valor points can be used like fate points by any army. But once you've used one, you reduce your stores. So they're essentially fate points that can be shared across the army. It's an idea that I stole from our new mechanics episode.
You stole it from yourself.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? So yeah, I think actually I would probably tweak this to say you can only use one valor point a turn, maybe. Just to stop like the situation of you like spamming 6 fate points on a single character. I feel like could be quite strong.
I mean, that's quite a niche situation where like you're getting completely destroyed. Like, I don't think.
Well, no, because it means that. No, I think I agree because you could. It stops you being able to just like have the one turn where you have the opportunity to kill the enemy hero, but you know they've got like 3 valor points, and there's no.
And I think, especially against like Gilgalad, the chances of you winning the fight are already pretty slim. So I think it just makes it too good if he's like.
Remember, also on average, you are only getting 2. Like, there's not actually that much difference between one and 2.
That's 2 fate points. Well, anyway, I personally would maybe make that tweak, but that's how it is at the moment. It may have been tweaked by the time people see this in video format. We move quickly on to Gilgalad.
You will know. Why are we moving quickly? Did you not get the hint from last time? We need to pad the runtime.
Oh shit! Yes,
especially for your stuff.
We move exceptionally slowly on, slowly like a snail, some might say. And we look at it's a reference no one understands.
Even Mayor won't get it.
Yeah,
no, I get it. I'm just choosing to ignore it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I wish that I'm also ignoring it. Gilgalad, as you can see, is the exact same as he is in the Lord of the Rings profile. I've just kept him the same.
It makes sense.
It doesn't change, does he? No. He's just the same. He's just the same bloke.
Is he defense 7 though?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's heavily armored in this.
Yeah.
He's defense 7 in SBG as well.
I just figure he's
okay. So I could overcomplicate it by saying he doesn't have heavy armor, putting it as an option, but I can't be asked.
Nice.
There we go.
I think he should have 3 fate.
Yeah, at least more than 1 because they're far off dying here, aren't they?
You not think he'd be really good if he had too many fate though?
But thematically, only characters who are literally about to die have 1 fate.
That's fair enough. Two fates and bump him up to 180 maybe.
Or you go 185 to 190 and give him 3.
I think that would be fun.
He's only 185 if you give him the horse and shield. He's 170 base.
Oh, I was meaning as you put his base up by 15 points, give him 2 more fate.
Base up to 180 and give him 2 fate.
I think he should have 3.
I think 3 is excessive. He is going to die eventually. But anyway, Gilgalad
die eventually.
Wow. Gilgalad is more or less the same. We might give him an extra fate point. We'll see. Yeah. We now move on to a character which actually is new, Finrond Felagund, 170 points. I've made Finrond pretty strong and probably undercosted. However, as you'll notice, if your force contains Finrod and any other named Kingdom of Lindon heroes, it will automatically lose its army bonus. Additionally, the force will automatically be possibilized, blah, 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 blah. He's essentially the same as like a Barling character. He will create his own like mini faction, and he would be the only named character in there because he's not seen with any of the others. Hence why he's pretty strong because of that. He is then, loosely speaking, based on can't remember his name.
Glorfindel? Yes,
thank you. It's going really well, isn't it? Glorfindel. Yeah. So he's got the fight 7, the like really strong elf profile. Strength 4, defense 7, attacks 3, wounds 3, courage 7, might 3, will 3, fate 1 because he does die. But he's a bit of a beat stick. He's got heavy armor, master forged elven made 2-handed sword,
like that,
and a dagger. So he is going to be doing work, and I've given him a load of heroics because I felt like he was pretty good.
Yeah,
the option for horse. Now for his special rules, then I've given him Hatred Saffron, which is super specific.
Yeah.
But I figured like it had to be there.
Yes.
And just like fluff reasons. So the chances of you using that rule are admittedly very low. So I didn't really account for that in his points necessarily. I more kind of saw it as just there for the theme. And then I gave him Master of Battle, which is pretty good. Maybe a bit too good, because I haven't given him the plus, which, as we discussed in last week's episode, is probably too strong. So I might change that to a 3-up.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be more than a 4-up, obviously. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think because it restricts the list so heavily, I think he's actually fine. I would actually have made him slightly stronger, but
I feel like the ability to call a heroic action if someone else does within 6 inches without spending might with no roll is a little bit too good. So I think I'm going to make that a 3-up, just so it's not an auto guarantee. I give him Terror because that's what the big beat stick elves get, wooden creature, and then the nice little kind of bonus which you get, so that because obviously you're limiting yourself when you take him, is that all models in the army gain the Hatred Orc and the Hatred Troll special rule, which I appreciate is not always going to be useful, but again, it's a nice little fluff bonus.
I don't know. I think because he's so restrictive, and because you lose the army bonus, I think he almost needs to. Firstly, I'd let him take a shield, because I think that's important on 1 Fate heroes.
Well, he's got a 2-handed sword, so
that's true. Unless you made it. No, that wouldn't work. Okay, because I suppose the reason Gilgalad works is because his A-gloss just gives him +1 to wound. I don't know. I just don't know if you could fit him in an army. He's a bit like Helm Hammerhand, isn't he? In that sense that, like, he creates his own like little faction and stuff like that. But
yeah, but a bit like Helm, this guy is going to like just.
Yeah, but then Helm gets his own legion, and like that legion makes him really fucking good in giving him like heroic combats and stuff. I just don't know if this guy does, especially as you lose your original army bonus. I just don't know.
If it's not army bonus, you just can't take any other names character.
Yeah. But it says oh, I see. If any other, I see. Okay, I thought I read that as you lose the army bonus. Okay, maybe that's
essentially right. His Fate 1 is irrelevant because you're going to be using all of those extra Fate on him.
Could you give him Thranduil's thing where elves within 6 get +1 fight or something?
What, instead of the Hatred Orc Troll?
I was thinking as well as, because he's basically got one in quotes cool special rule, and the rest are like pretty normal. But as like an army leader, Hammerhand has a free might a turn. I feel like just giving his army Hatred Orc and Troll isn't as cool, isn't as useful. It's a bit more situational, but it does mean if you're facing Orcs and Trolls, then you're probably gonna be at a massive advantage, to be fair.
Yeah.
I guess it's less consistent, but like when it does hit, you are probably just gonna win. Like, I mean, obviously if you come up against the list with Sauron, like you're not automatically gonna win because Sauron's really good, but like you are gonna do very well against those lists.
I don't know. I'm always hesitant to make these profiles, as you know, these profiles too strong.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, because we haven't play tested these, it seems a little bit too good. If I was to give him anything, I'd maybe give him Blood and Glory.
Yeah. Or Resistant to Magic. That might be nice.
Remind me what Blood and Glory is?
If you kill an enemy hero, you gain a might point back.
Which is what Gilgalad has.
Yeah, Gilgalad has that.
Which makes him real good. But
I guess then he's a bit similar to Gilgalad.
But the problem is with this list is if they have a caster who can slow this dude down, like because so much of your army is going to revolve around him putting in work, he might it's a bit like if you can slow down the Troll Chieftain in the Black Gate list, like suddenly I mean, elves are fine, but you do tend to rely, especially on the heroes doing cool shit.
What about this? He gives his army ancient enemies with all evil, in addition to Hatred Orc and Hatred Troll.
Remind me what that does.
It means you can reroll ones to win.
And what does Hatred do?
It gives you +1 to wound. So he gets +1 to wound against Orcs and Trolls, and reroll ones against everything else. So like Uruk-hai, evil men,
goblins.
To be honest, I'm wondering if +1 to wound is too much.
Or against controls.
But if you come up against a guy who's got that, then they're just going to be like, well, this is pointless.
Yeah, but that would be a pretty standard, for example, Legendary Legion rule, which would be essentially what this is because you can only take him. Yeah. I feel like he's fine as he is, and if any listeners feel like they disagree, they can explain and give us feedback.
To be fair, I think he's obviously very powerful for his points, but then he needs to be, and I almost think at like low points he would do really well, but I wonder if at higher points the lack of other named heroes would make. I feel like a list with him in would peak at like 400, 500 or something, because like nobody at 400 and 500 is actually going to bring anything that could really slow him down. So yeah,
I think that's fair enough. But that's true of most elf heroes, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, like I think like Gilgalad's effective at nearly all points values, and like Glorfindel as well because he's resistant to magic is equally as good later on. But yeah, I mean, he's a very, very cool profile.
He's cool. I think we leave him as he is, and we'll move on to have a look at his sister, Gladriel, and the profile I come up with her. So, she starts base 130, but you're probably gonna be taking all her upgrades and making her 155. She gets quite a lot of that for that. So let's just run through the kind of thinking. So she's fight 6, strength 3, defense 4, attack 3, wounds 3, courage 6, 333. Very good profile, a lot of points. She's got strike, strength, and challenge, and I gave her the rule of Noldrin Dagger. Now, me and OT spent a lot of time discussing this as to what she should get for this. I just felt like it's not actually that significant. Like, it's like of personal significance to her, but it's just a dagger, really, isn't it?
Well, it's just a dagger to everybody else, but like when she's wielding it, I feel like it's pretty lethal.
Well, that's why I've given her the. So what the Noldrin Dagger does is she's unaffected by any rule that will remove or destroy this weapon, so she never counts as unarmed ever, because it's like the whole thing is she always like goes back for it, whatever. And I feel like that's fine. I don't feel like it needs to be anything more than that because I don't really think that it's.
There is another character who has a Noldrin Dagger in lots of SBG.
The guy, what's his face? Erestor.
Yeah,
he has Noldrin Daggers. Say different.
Right. So you're saying the fact that it's plural increases their power.
Yeah, I think so.
What is his rule?
He can re-roll failed wound rolls,
but he has 2. So.
Okay, but like,
she is only strength 3.
I think she should be able to reroll wounds.
Well, when we get on to her special rules,
her Legendary Legion.
So she gets Hatred Orc because she don't like them orcs, as we know from. No,
she really strongly against them.
She really dislikes them, except in the episode after she dislikes them when she. Kind of reigns back on that, but anyway,
it's called character development.
Yes, it could be if it was done well. Hatred Sauron, because
she didn't like Sauron.
She didn't like Sauron, except when she didn't know that he was called Sauron. He doesn't. She actually almost loves him until his name.
I think there should have been a romance arc. I would have enjoyed
I think that's what the series needed. I think that would have made the fans happy. Actually,
more pointless romance.
Someone isn't going to realize that you're being sarcastic, and they're going to be keyboard warrioring.
I'm not being sarcastic.
Why are you so against love?
Right. I want people in the comments to tell me how much they hate my opinion. That's what I want. Unyielding combat stance, mostly because I was like looking through the unique rule, like the special rules, and I was like, no one ever gets that, so she's got that.
What is that? The Easterlings, isn't it? Who get it?
The Easting guys. It means like on a 4-up, you don't count as being trapped, or is it something like that?
I don't think you can. I think it's you can't be trapped.
Yeah, it's something like that. Or is it like on a 4-up, you can't be knocked prone? Maybe.
I think maybe it's like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
but I made a rule. I made a rule for a Rondir, stoic elf, for anybody who's forgotten the character names, called Agile, which was basically they can re-roll any test and they can't be counted as trapped. So I mean, essentially, I had the same idea that they're just not trapped in combat because they do all the cool flippy shit that looks so good on screen.
We do love cool flippy shit.
Yeah, that's why I watched Lord of the Rings.
So if a model with the special is not prone, roll d6 and 4 up. This model keeps their footing, is not prone. If they're mounted when they're not prone, they pass the roll to keep their footing. They'll stay on their feet. They'll be separated from their mount. So it's as if they're like rolled a 6, I think. Yeah.
Perfect.
So pretty useful. Like not amazing, but useful. Woodland creature because elves love them woods. Especially that one tree where the elves were like, we'd rather die than cut this tree down. Until then, the main character elf is like, no, it's all right, I'll cut it down. No biggie. No biggie, guys, don't worry. I'll just talk to it gently, whisper sweet word.
As he cuts it to pieces.
Yeah. Shh.
It's good. It's good not to think too hard about Rings of Power, isn't it? Because as soon as you actually like break down any of the seeds, it does just make you realize.
I'm concerned how much of it I remember.
Yeah.
It's like
Mayor doesn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, Mayor is blessed in this instant with his poor memory. He's like, what tree? I don't know. What is Rings of Power? Right, her unique special rules then. Touch the Darkness, which I was quite pleased with this one. So when the Force Gladiol is part of his broken, Gladiol must charge at any model if it's possible for her to do so in her movement in the combat phase. She may call heroic combat without spending a might point. In addition, friendly models may not benefit from Gladiol's standfast. So she like goes off the rails basically. If your force is broken, she herself with Courage 6 is very unlikely to fail Courage. I almost feel like this rule could possibly just say she auto passes, but then I think you might end up in a situation where she just drags the game on forever.
Yeah, because I mean, any hero with auto pass Courage and stand fast becomes a problem, doesn't it? So no, I agree.
And then I gave her. She counts as if she has a Warhorn equipped, because I felt like loads of models count as banners. So why not just like no one? I can't think of anyone who counts as a Warhorn. And I was like, why not? This is where OP now refers to his.
Well, I mean, Durin comes with a Warhorn, but yeah, I don't think there are any who count as a Warhorn themselves.
Yeah. So there we go.
Also, nobody takes Warhorns that often, as far as I'm aware.
No,
I mean, not many factions can take them, but a lot of them that you do. So like hobbits, elves not so much because their courage is already pretty high. So
I feel like armies of like men or orcs would benefit maybe from a Warhorn, but then like also if you're relying on heroes for standfast anyway, maybe it's not that relevant. I don't really know. Like I guess they're more relevant.
If you lose a move off and you get charged, that's like a classic way of getting all your opponent's warriors to flee, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. But then I guess it scales well at higher points. Like if you've got 800 plus points, a Warhorn probably does get value, just even if they're like terror causing enemies or whatever.
I think the main issue with the Warhorn is only good factions take it, and they automatically have slightly better courage. So it always feels like the worth is a little bit lost there. But anyway, 130 points. I thought fair enough. She might even be overcosted, but I think you just get too much like might and fate with fairly strong fight. And I know she's low strength, but if she's charging with a horse and she has a two-handed sword potentially that you might use, you know, she's not gonna not do work. Celebrimbor then. I think Celebrimbor might be my favorite profile. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Because we both came up with. I mean, I was nerding out on profiles anyway, and I made an Elrond one, which I'm not sure if we're going to see. But like, we actually came up with fairly similar rules for like Celebrimbor's buff and stuff like that. Yeah, I think he's my favorite profile from the elf list for sure.
Yeah, so he's got like the casting elf profile, as in like average 3 will. he's only equipped with an Elven Made Hammer, so he's very low defense. He's got heroic defense, heroic strength, heroic channeling. He is a magic caster. I'm not really sure if he actually is a magic caster, but
no.
Now, point number one that we both quite liked is you can upgrade Elven Made Hand and a Half Swords for +2 points per model to become Master Forged. That might be a little bit strong, but then equally, you're going to become very expensive very quickly with that.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
I think it's fine.
I think
it's the same as the Khazad Burley upgrade, effectively. Like, you're just getting plus +1 to wound. Like elves play a premium anyway. Like, I mean, you're starting to talk about paying 11, 12 points for a basic warrior.
Yeah. Like,
that's fine.
Special rules then: Terror Wooden Creature, magical powers. I gave him Blade Wraith, which I'm pretty sure is an evil magical power. But the description I thought was like really cool, and I gave him Enchanted Blades. So I feel like it just all kind of works really nicely with his theme of being like the Elven Smith. And so you give
everything that has blade in.
Yeah, everything that affects weapons, he gets it.
Yep.
And I really like his profile. He's quite cheap as well for an elf hero, 75 points. Yeah. I feel like he slots in really nicely as a secondary hero with someone like Gilglad.
It feels a bit like Kier, like not he doesn't play the same role as Círdan, but in that terms of like that kind of points, and he's not a combat hero.
I just realised I've remembered the only difference I made with Gilglad was I took away his thing where he upgrades the elves. And I can't remember why I did that, but I decided not to include that for some reason.
The fact we didn't notice it. I mean, it's a fairly good ability, but like, I don't think it's too egregious in this.
Yeah. We move on to Elrond Half-Elf. He's got a similar-ish profile to Celebrimbor, but he's got more might and fate. And he's got Heroic Resolve and Heroic Channeling, so arguably slightly less useful heroics. Although Resolve actually may be more useful than Defense, because you're probably not going to make Celebrimbor your leader, but anyway, never mind. I've given him the stupid rule that OT came up with.
Yeah, but it's
like,
now better explained and sort of less powerful form. It is now okay, and also it's not as bonkers with him and Durin as it was with Durin and Disa.
Yeah, Woodland Creature, and then I gave him Sage Council. If Elrond is within 6 inches of Gilglad, then Gilglad may expend a single point of Elrond's might as if it were his own per turn. Yes, that is what I meant.
Yeah. I think that's implied.
Yeah.
It's not a single point. Well, for what time period? Like the whole game?
Yeah, the whole game.
Cool. Yeah. Only one attack?
Yeah.
I know we don't see him fight, but I know we do. We see him practicing. So we know he trains. And how many attacks does he have in Lord of the Rings?
Well, he's got 3, but in Lord of the Rings, he's the main dude in Lord of the Rings, isn't he?
But it's that main character energy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an elf. Also, I feel like.
Interestingly, I just want to point out, I copied the wording from Lindy of that. And his is, if Lind is within 6 inches of Elrond's, then Elrond may expend a single point of will each turn. So I don't really know how I copied that wrong, but I did. So there we go.
That's all right.
It's okay. It's just a minor failing.
Nobody actually cares.
No, that is true. And I've always got that too.
He doesn't have Foresight of the Eldar.
Okay.
Why? That's a rule from Lot. I mean, was he not looking far ahead at this point? Was he living in the moment?
I feel like he was living in the moment.
Yeah, he had
spent most of his time just chilling with Durin. Didn't really do anything.
Talking about me.
Bit of a lazy prick, I'd say.
Yeah, that was the vibe I got.
I still think 2 attacks would be better.
I gave him 2 attacks.
Fine, I'll give him 2 attacks.
I really think 2 attacks because I
bumped him to 95.
Can't be the same as a warrior.
Put him at 100.
He's got Aura of Command, Fortified Spirit, and Command.
Yep.
He's pretty average, but I didn't really feel like he should be anything special. I mean, next season he'll probably turn into like a fucking combat beast.
Yeah,
and I'll look
again. That's character development, and the brilliant thing is it'll probably happen off screen.
Yeah.
So then we don't even need to worry. We just get told that he became OP in combat.
I'm predicting the first scene we see him in, he will kill a troll.
Yeah.
Just so you know how good he is in combat.
Yeah. No,
I think they did
that worked really well. That worked really well before with another character, didn't it?
Yeah, didn't they mention when Durin and Elrond are talking to Disa again? I can't believe I remember this. They were like, "Oh yeah, we met because there was a troll, and Elrond shot it with his bow. Maybe Elrond should have a bow.
I think he should,
and
he can only shoot trolls.
Yeah. And it's only if Durin is fighting.
If Durin's in the force, yeah.
Or you could do a rule where if Durin's fighting a troll, he can shoot into that combat, but he always hits the troll.
No, that's just dreadfully. Jesus Christ. We really do not need that.
To be fair, you put in a rule that said hatred Sauron. Like,
that's like within the bounds of the normal rules. You can re-roll in the way test if there's a troll.
No, you just auto hit the troll, and Durin has to be fighting the troll as well.
But you wouldn't be able to shoot because he can't shoot into a friendly combat.
Well, that's what this rule is for.
He throws a stone.
24-inch throw stone. But only at a troll.
Only at a troll.
You're in combat with. Perfect.
If there's a mining captain within
Death kiss. Mwah, beautiful.
I think right. 100 points though. I think.
Right. With a bow now.
Well, I'm just comparing him to Legolas in my head, and like I would take him.
Why?
No, Legolas is way better than this shit.
Well, stat line wise,
he's D4.
Yeah, Legolas is only D4 as well.
Yeah, but Legolas has the option for armor.
Yeah, he does, but then he's more expensive, and Legolas has one less might or will. I can't remember. Legolas isn't 3/3.
He doesn't get magic. To be fair,
yeah, he doesn't get magic
or Sage Council to give that 1 point of might per game to Gilgalad.
He doesn't. he doesn't give one of the biggest combat beasts in the game more might points either. So.
A lifelong bond, could be pretty strong as well. I think.
You could. You could bring Durin to give Elrond a might point so he
to give
Gilgalad.
Wow!
Oh, for fuck's sake, it's so stupid.
I'm actually surprised you didn't resist this rule harder.
No, because the wording of Durin's rule is they may use the might point as if it's their own. So he doesn't give him a might point.
No, they can use it.
It's fine.
No, it doesn't count as using a might point if you're giving it to someone else. That counts as that's like separate. You're not using it.
It says Gilgalad may expend a single point of Elrond's might per turn as if for his own. So yeah, there's no loophole.
Disa gives it to Durin. Gives it to Elrond. Gives it to Gilgalad.
I hate your stupid rule.
We're not going to realise why it's not in the game.
We're not going to dwell too much on the rest of the list because these are just profiles stolen from the Rivendell list. Because I figured they're basically Rivendell but with different heroes, so it made sense to give them a captain, a stormcaller, a warrior, and a knight. So they're all the same. I don't think I change anything about them at all.
No, they're all the same.
Oh, you know what? Hang on. What we do is. You ally in a Lindon Stormcaller with Elrond in a list with Durin and Disa. You then give Durin Elrond's will. You then replenish it with the Stormcaller, and then you give them to Disa. Perfect.
I've got to say, I think at that point you will probably lose the game by the time you actually reach combat.
Yeah, just a big chain of heroes. Disa, but you could only afford one dwarf warrior. So yeah, that's the elf list overall. Really, it's just the Rivendell list, but slightly tweaked hero options. Mm-hmm. But that made sense. Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
Good. So we will move on to Army of the Southlands.
Okay, so the army bonus, endurance of the Southlands. Each time a Southlands model would take a wound, if it's in base contact with another friendly Southlands model, roll a d6. On a 6, the wound is ignored. I figured because essentially, as you'll see later, they can only take pretty shit dudes as warriors, basically just Rohan warriors is kind of their equivalent. You've got to make them a little bit more durable. They've got to have something. And I figured this would be that something potentially. And it's not as consistent as like just having a better stat. So in some places, it might be a bit more fluffy.
I almost feel like this is the rule that we need to playtest the most so far. I feel like it'd be interesting if anyone ever did playtest this, which we certainly won't be. But if anyone ever playtested this, if that ended up being too strong, would you then change it to being like the Gondor shield wall, where you have to have 3 in a row, just so that you like there's a little bit more? But anyway,
well, the problem is, I don't know, when you're backing away and stuff, you might not be in a situation where you can have someone in base contact with someone else. And I feel like a 6+ save on a model that's that shit might not be that strong. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it would be strong.
Is the wording meant to go to heroes as well?
I think so, because and I did think about this briefly, but a lot of them anyway, aren't that strong defensively.
But
it would be good on Halbrand and the others. It's not that.
Like as a tweak, if it needed a nerf,
yeah, potentially.
And you could just say it only works on either heroes or warriors or whatever. Like,
yeah, I just like that it kind of signifies their resilience to giving up almost.
Yeah. No, and I think it's definitely not stupidly powerful, because it's effectively the Fury reroll, isn't it? Which exists in the game and is fine. So yeah.
So King Halbrand, he's
King of the North.
King of the North, pretty standard stat line. I've given him 5 will, and you'll see why in a minute. He's just got armor and sword. I don't think he had any like weird weapons or anything, did he? That we were like, ooh, that's a special named sword or something weird.
He had the key sword, but he never actually had it, did he?
No.
He had that little pouch.
Oh yeah, his pouch.
Oh yeah. I think that's just what makes him king, though. Like having a pouch makes him king, so I think that's good enough.
It's true.
So you can take heavy armor. If you drop, well, then he wouldn't be a king, would he? Without his pouch.
Actually, it's perilous being king in the North.
Yeah, you can't lose your pouch, or you'll lose everything. So you give him heavy armor because I figured you probably want him as defense 6. You can give him a horse because we saw him on that horse that one time. Resistant to magic because hey, he's secretly Sauron.
Spoilers.
The King of the Southlands.
What's the one else on Watch Rings of Power and wants to watch an excellent.
Then why are they watching a thing about profiles on it? They're going to know nothing. Halbrand counts as a 6-inch banner because no, we're not giving him the Sauron keyword because then
oh yeah, that's true.
Thingy gets a thingy on him.
I just destroyed the balance of the game.
Yeah. So Halbrand's a 6-inch banner because I haven't let the militia take banners because they don't have banners. I don't see why they'd have a banner. So this is their one way to have a banner.
It's the pouch. He waves it around.
That's what I was saying. I think the pouch need a banner.
On a stick.
Anyway, and then we've got his debuff, Deception. Halbrand is disguising his true form and has his own agenda in battle. At the start of your move phase, each turn roll a d6. On a 1, he suffers the effects of Transfix. This roll can be influenced with will, which is why he has 5 will. So it's just one of those, as the battle goes on, if your opponent's casting spells on him and he's having to use his will, or he's failing courage tests, which, to be fair, he probably won't as he's courage 6 anyway, he'll become more susceptible to not doing what you want him to do. But otherwise, he's essentially your strongest hero. So this was just a way to make him a little bit cheaper, I suppose.
I really like Deception. I think it really elegantly creates the sense that he might not always do exactly what you want him to do without making it like really unnecessarily complicated.
Because It was based off my original idea, which was a complete fucking dumpster fire, which I as usual made too complicated. Essentially, on a roll of a 1, your opponent could move him instead or something instead of transfix, which like I think was too swingy. Whereas I think transfix is nice because like he's probably not going to be actively like moving around against you. He'll probably just kind of stand there and let it all pass him by. So I think it's really good.
You essentially wanted to give him the 1 ring, didn't you?
Yeah, but
which has like a page
variant.
of rules dedicated to it. It's so complicated. So yeah.
So this was just like a reminder that he's not necessarily on your side.
Yeah. And I think my only comment is fight 5, 6 question mark.
You want to make him 6?
I think he's 5.
He was pretty strong.
He doesn't do much cool shit on screen. Like
he does that thing where he leans off his horse and takes out.
He doesn't do any backflips or flips off a wall though.
Yeah, is that what warranties fight 6?
Well, according to the producers of Rings of Power.
Don't you remember when Gilgalad did that triple backflip and stabbed Sauron in the heart?
Twice by 9. Maybe he's fight 6. I think actually we might want to make him fight 6 because Elfie boy Arondir is fight 5, and I feel as though, I mean, Secret Sauron has been around for a long time, and he's probably going to be more than fight 5.
Do you not remember the scene where he went absolutely ham on the blacksmith dude?
No, but
that was a random peasant blacksmith.
Yeah, that's 3 dudes in it.
Alleyway. But he like obliterated them.
Did he?
No, but
they ended up.
Broke that guy's arm.
He lost to the 3 of them because they were holding him up, and he was about to get a punch in the face when the guard or whoever came to save him.
No, you are misremembering that scene massively. They punch him in the face. He takes it, and he goes to them, "Don't do this. You'll make me angry like the Hulk." And then they go, "Fuck you, Sauron." Punch him in the face.
Spoilers here.
Oh yeah, sorry, spoilers. Punch him in the face. He takes it, and then he goes absolutely ham, breaks a dude's arm, like murks the other one, and then breaks the other guy's nose, and then the guards turn up.
Okay. Well, either way, I made him fight 6 and 110 points now instead of 100. Are we happy?
I am exceptionally happy about.
I was okay with him at 5-5, to be honest. But that's fine.
Arondir.
Yes.
The Elfie boy.
Question.
Yeah.
Did you have to Google his name?
No, because OT had already Googled it for me.
Oh, okay. No, OT remembered it because it's his favourite character.
Yeah, stoic elf.
Continuing on, yeah.
So for the most part, he's got a fairly basic stat line because I feel as though he was pitched as, just another one of the guards doing his rounds, and then he sort of turns into a bit of a Mary Sue. So I've given him. He's kind of an elf warrior in some ways. He's fight 5.
He's Haldir.
He's Haldir, yeah, exactly.
He's Haldir.
Yeah, so
one of the boys.
He's got march and shoot, wooden creature, untrusted. Southland's men cannot benefit from heroic actions from this model.
Can the women?
Yes, they can.
Yes, and I've done that deliberately. And as you'll see later, Bronwyn has keyword woman, not man.
What if people change their sculpts to be female? Does that mean they can then benefit from?
No, they wouldn't change keyword.
Correct.
The game is sexist.
So what you need is for me to make 2 Southlands militia profiles, but then you'd only take women because they have that benefit.
Yeah, they're just better.
They're just better, yeah. Although as SBG is sexist, they have to have 1 less strength.
No, you can't come down to strength 2.
Well,
yeah, that's the half of
from SBG
which
logic.
Coming next week and even more of a dumpster fire.
Anyway, so basically, Bronwyn can benefit from his heroic actions and no one else, which makes complete sense. Agile, which is OT's rule, which I kept because I thought was really good. This model can re-roll any climb, jump, or throw rider tests and can never be considered trap. Because, as we know, when he faced that really important, really big orc that turned up out of nowhere for a random fight sequence, he's really good at jumping around and avoiding fights and not using his weapons. So he has that.
Do you remember the scene, though, where he killed the big orc? and then he took his helmet off, and he was a little child boy, like peasant. Yeah, it was good to see.
It was like a big mech on the inside, just controlling him using like puppet strings.
But it was actually just a regular bloke once he took the helmet off.
I can hear Mayor's brain whirring away, trying to work out if we should.
Yeah, Mayor is like, I don't understand the reference. I can't remember 4 weeks ago.
Okay, so moving on. Waldreg.
Oh no, I want to talk about Elfman.
Oh, well, you've lost your.
You're not allowed to.
I've moved on without allowing you to talk. And apparently, that means you're in the wrong OT.
If you say anything, I will cut it. So just let it go.
No, it's fine.
He should have expert shot.
I agree. He needs something with his bow, but I just felt like I didn't want to give him too many special rules.
He can shoot a flaming arrow that does absolutely nothing,
but it looks cool.
But it looks cool. That's his rule.
Right, I've given him expert shot. It makes sense. He's going to be more points now.
He should get up to 85 or 90 with expert shot.
I think 90 with his.
90 is fair.
Yeah. So, Waldreg. I think this is going to be really interesting, and I want to hear what you two have to say. I made him really low points at the moment. He's 25 points, or at least that's what he's at the moment. He's got a pretty okay stat line. Fight 4, strength 4, defense 5, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 4. So that's kind of how I imagine him. He's 3-2-2, which might be a little strong from what his character was, but as named heroes go, I think because of the drawbacks, he's got to have something. So if you take Waldreg, you can't take Arondir or King Halbrand. So I think that makes sense thematically because he doesn't fight alongside them. I don't think he'd want to, even if he had the opportunity. He obviously leaves to join what he thinks is Sauron.
Yeah, ironically, if he'd stayed, he would have actually fought with Sauron.
Yeah. So he has just a sword.
The layers that you appreciate from Rings of Power if you actually pay attention to a shit show.
So because of that drawback, and I feel like that is quite a big drawback, you're essentially going to be taking him, Bronwyn, Theo, and then just dudes, which I feel like is going to be a pretty awful army. So I feel like he really just needs to have something. Maybe he even needs heroic strike, but I know we didn't really. Well, hear me out here. If you take him, Bronwyn, and Theo, you have no fighting power. You're basically having hobbits, but with no heroes. Maybe he needs something else. Maybe it's not strike. But maybe you two can think of something.
But then I think that's themey that they have nothing because they didn't have anything.
This is true. Okay. Yeah. Well. Okay. But then I think if you're,
he's not got strike.
Okay. So let's stick with Heroic March. So the special rules. This is where things get interesting. So Prophet of Woe. Friendly warrior models within 6 inches cannot benefit from Stand Fast. So this is essentially him. Saying we can't win, we have to join the enemy, rah rah rah, which I think is kind of embodied by the rule. It's basically the same as Lobelius, is that right? Except is Lobelius 3 inch or is it 6? But that's enemies as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 6. I think it's 6 inches, and any model can't use their hero stand fast.
Right. So this is just like a flat debuff. It's not even something that you might be able to use, but I don't think it should work on enemies because. Like thematically, that makes no sense.
Unless he makes them feel real sad as well.
Maybe. So live to survive. So I wanted to embody his sort of.
So I love the name of that rule. Sorry.
I know, but isn't that basically what he says at one point?
No, it's cool. It's cool. It just feels like an oxymoron or something. But
I know, but it's just good. What he says a line when he's like, "I tell you what, our ancestors did do, live." And I was like, okay. So this is kind of what that was. So once he's slain, you roll a d6, and on a 3, he survives on 1 wound. But on the result of a 1 or a 2, he survives on 1 wound and is now controlled by your opponent and counts as their model for the remainder of the game, which probably won't be too long as he's on 1 wound. If this is the case, he counts as slain for the purpose of breaking. This rule can only be used once and must be used if able. So on his sort of deathbed, as it were, he's going to survive on 1 wound either way because you have to use the rule, and you're going to roll a 1 or a 2 or a 3+. And he's either going to remain on your team to the last, or he's going to swap team, and you're going to have to try and kill him. Then we've got the strength of men, the Southlands militia, and so this is sort of him. I feel like a lot of the villagers looked up to him and wanted to follow him, and did end up following him. So this is to represent that. Southlands villagers and militia in his warband may be given +1 strength for 1 point each. So that's to make up for kind of the lack of hitting power if you don't get to take King Halbrand or Arondir. That will take your militia up to strength 4, which I feel like is a big swing as far as warrior models with strength values go. So yeah, what do you guys think of Wardrake?
I think that Live to Survive would be an excellent name for a James Bond film.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Is that relevant to Wardrake, though?
Perhaps not, but I just wanted to get that in there because...
Is this another like level to Rings of Power that we missed? Are there like loads of references to James Bond?
James Bond. Skyfall.
Yeah, the sky did fall when the volcano exploded.
Came down. I was going for the star, but
there's 2
multiple level. Holy wow! I think we need to
give the writers a hard time. Should we record our re-record our ROP spoilers thing and just with our new perspective on it?
Oh, please don't make me watch it again.
I was debating making him free.
No, I like him currently because he's like a reverse Grima.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Grima's 25 points as well, so I think perfect. He's like the exact opposite.
Okay.
Why is he D5?
Because he's really hard to kill because he lives to survive.
It's because he has one of those metal things around his neck.
Yeah.
Right.
It's to represent the very strong likelihood that somebody would try and hit his head off, and it would hit that.
Perhaps D4 would be more appropriate, but because I don't know, I just feel like if you take him, he's him or Bronwyn's going to be your leader.
Bronwyn.
Okay, and he's. I don't know.
Although, if hang on, can I just ask?
No.
If you made him your leader and he survives with 1 wound is controlled by your opponent, doesn't that mean that they could then never kill him?
He counts as slain for the purposes of breaking, so I'm assuming that means he counts as a casualty.
Does he count as casualty for the purposes of victory points as well? Because
yes, that's an oversight on my part. And yes,
it just occurred to me. I was like, this could break the game. But no, that's fine. Yeah.
I would drop him a defense. I would drop him a might.
Ooh.
And I would drop him a will, and I would make him 15 points.
I don't think he needs to be cheaper, and I think he is fine. And the only thing that I would change is defense 4.
Okay.
Defense D.
4. Yeah. Defense 4 makes
nuts.
sense. I think I like to keep him at 3-2 because your 2 other named heroes, Bronwyn and Theo, at the moment only have 1 might each, and he you need something. He needs something, and named heroes often have 3 might, and I feel like he has the kind of willpower to get shit done if he wants to.
I do think that maybe 1 will, 1 fate is a bit wrong because all of the like if you look at like the Isengard's list, like Lurtz only has so maybe
they're all 3-2 basically.
No,
Lurtz, they're all 3-1-1, aren't they? Yeah,
and I get that
Lurtz 2-1-1.
I get that Lurtz and Ugluk die, but maybe just 1 will because he's instantly corrupted by evil.
Yeah, this makes sense. I do want to make him 20 points now, though.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to make him like really cheap. Like, I think
20 is fair. I think 20 is fair.
But
like on my points alone, you're getting 15 points worth. Yeah.
But then he has a downside in that he can switch sides. Like I think for me, the Southlands, I think, should be closer to hobbits than like normal men. I think they should be like fairly useless without their two big heroes, and I think that's quite themey because they were quite useless without those two heroes.
I think it's fine because you'll bring him for the +1 strength buff.
Yeah,
you're going to spunk all of his might as soon as possible on marches so that you don't give the opponent the opportunity to get 3 might points. And then you are either going to keep him back or you're going to throw him in because you don't really care. I think he's fine. It's funny.
I think he'll end up acting like he does, where he's just like, he's got his like bunch of patrons or whatever, and he's going to go fuck shit up and they're going to do what he says.
Yeah. Good. Shall we move on to Bronwyn?
Yeah. So Bronwyn has the woman keyword. So Bronwyn's profile is pretty shit, other than her 2 wounds and 5 courage. She's 1, 2, 3 might, will, and fate. Has a sword.
I think that might be the only hero in the game with 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like it fits her though.
Yeah.
Does anyone have more than 3 fate points?
Sauron? No.
No. No.
No, I don't think so.
So she's got heroic resolve. She can take a bow for 5 points. I can't remember if she uses one, but I'm sure there's one lying around. Even if she does, it's going to be fairly useless. You'll probably take a bow with her just so she can do something. I'm thinking maybe she's going to be overpointed as well, but she has resilient fighter. This model always passes courage tests while their force is considered broken. Was this one of yours, OT?
Yes.
So it's quite similar to. Doesn't Galadriel have something like that? Does she also auto pass? No, she doesn't pass courage when she's broken. Yes, Bronwyn passes courage tests. Healing herbs. If Bronwyn and another hero model are in base contact at the end of a move phase, you may roll a d6 on a 4+, restore either a wound or fate point to that model. This roll can be influenced by will. So she can essentially just restore wounds or fate points. It'll combo well with Halbrand or Arondir, but probably not so much with Theo or Waldreg. So even more reason not to take Waldreg with Bronwyn and Theo, because she'll be even shitter. At the moment, she's 45 points. I'm thinking maybe even 35 or 30, question mark.
I don't know. I think the only thing is because they're Green Alliance with Numenor, using that ability on Numenor is quite powerful. If you were to limit it, the healing herbs, to just Southlands models, I think definitely 30 or 35. I mean, I think she's overcosted. I think 40 is fine, even with the Numenor Alliance. But like, yeah, I mean, it's again like the value of restoring a wound or a fate point to a lot of models in the Southlands list isn't that valuable. But like Elendil, for instance, or Isildur has a lot more value.
Yeah.
I mean, even just doing it to Halbrand's pretty decent.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think she needs to do it to the new.
But then Halbrand becomes more of a liability later in the game, doesn't he? Because you'll run out of will and stuff like that.
Well, only if they've got an enemy caster.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So then we've got Theo, 35 points currently. He's essentially exactly the same stats as Bronwyn, but he has 2 attacks, 1 wound instead of 2, and he's courage 4. He's 1-1-2 instead of 1-2-3. And Theo may only lead Southland's peasants in his warband and must take a full warband. So he has to take 6 peasants, and we'll come to them later, but they're pretty useless. This is just to represent him defending the other peasants in the church or barn or whatever it was. Protect the weak. So he's got Protect the Weak and the Flaws of Men. Protect the Weak. While he's within 3 inches of a Southlands villager, he gains +1 fight and may re-roll to wound rolls in combat. Sorry, I just realised peasants is meant to say villagers. There we go. I named them peasants to start with, and it felt too offensive. So villagers they are. So protect the weak is just a slightly better version of the same thing that militia gets, which you'll see later. So flaws of men, while within 6 inches of Adar, Sauron, or Waldreg, he gets -2 courage and cannot call heroic actions. It's not too much of a debuff because he's already pretty shit courage, and he's only got 1 might that he's got to spend in the game anyway. It just is a bit themey and is a bit of a debuff, and it's a way that your opponent can kind of mess with your potential plans. But it's themey more than anything else, I think.
Yeah,
5 points too much.
I think it's fine.
He could be 30.
Yeah. I think personally, if I was making this profile, I'd have made them attacks 1, wounds 2, the other way around. But I don't think it really makes a difference.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I guess because, yeah, I think maybe
just someone who's different from a warrior is with attacks 2. So just keep him as he is.
I think,
but he could be cheaper.
Makes more sense though, because otherwise he can also be sniped really easy. He's defense 4. Even Hobbit heroes are defense 2 wounds, aren't they?
Why does he have to take a full war band? Just out of interest.
Because the only time he properly fights is when he's defending the villages, and I wanted to represent that. He's only a minor hero anyway, so he only has to take 6. And it's just, I just thought it was fluffy. I thought it was cool that you had to do that.
He didn't people exploiting the game by just taking Theo for his amazing rules.
His stats.
Yeah.
Could he give them a buff, or is that not themey?
I don't feel like he does. He just protects them really. But having villagers is going to be useful. So I think forcing you to take them with him is kind of fine, because then you can spread the villagers out and they can do their thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we've got the captain, which is just going to be just going to be a man captain essentially. Same as like a Rohan captain. Then we've got Southlands militia. So these are essentially Rohan warriors. They can take a sword, axe, or pick. They can take bows, shield, spear, 2-handed weapons. I just figured that was like they just pick up whatever they can find. And they've got Protect the Weak, which is a slightly weaker version of Theo's rule. If this model is in the same combat as at least 1 Southlands villager, it gains +1 fight and may reroll 1s to wound in combat. Militia supporting with a spear cannot benefit from this rule. So you can't just have like a front line of villagers and a second line of spear supporting militia. I figured it was like a situational rule that you could give to warriors that you could engineer in a way.
I don't think they need +1 to fight. I think they just need a reroll, because wouldn't fight 4 be a bit too good?
Well, you could have people in Waldreg's thing as fight 4, strength 4, for example, but even fight 4, strength 4 isn't that good. And you need a villager to do that, and villagers are like absolute shit. So you're almost taking attacks just to get +1 fight, but it could be useful in certain situations.
It just feels like they're like hobbits, like point wise. So you can spam them like hobbits, but then when they become fight 4, strength 4, they're actually going to be hitting pretty hard with an axe.
Because I got to say, after spending the week making my half-foot profiles, these guys look super strong. I know they're not, but like compared to like similarly priced half-foots, they are quite powerful.
So rerolling 1s to wound in combat doesn't really matter, because if you've got a sword, you can already do that. +1 fight is situational anyway. Depends what you're fighting. I don't think it's that strong. You need a villager in there to do it, and villagers aren't that good.
But
you've also got to think about this in the context of the army and their heroes. I mean,
Sure.
the heroes aren't massively strong. Like, you've got 2 solid heroes and then 3 fairly shit heroes. They need something else that's a bit different. Maybe it's not this.
I just feel like if I was taking this list, I wouldn't care about heroes, and I would be taking max warbands with Waldreg, Bronwyn, and Theo, and I would just spam militia and Waldreg's warband with axes, and then I just spam a load of villagers. And then if I can get them into the same combat as each other, because this is what hobbits do, they get a militia with axe into the same combat as a sheriff. So they get the extra fight, but then they get the axe with the strength. But I would be spamming warriors who get, if they're in the same combat, admittedly, but they would get +1 fights, +1 strength. They would re-roll 1s to wound, and if I lose the fight, I get a 6-up save.
Okay, but you're also not you're not going to have a villager in every combat with a militia.
No, but I'll have them in enough that I can start to chunk
And
through.
only 12 of your dudes have +1 strength. I think maybe it's okay at low points values, but as soon as you get to like 500 points, you're just having to take captains with dudes. It's not like your goblins with like chittering hordes.
Even without the +1 strength, I don't know.
I mean, I think it could be strong, but I've tried to make it vaguely competitive. Do you think maybe something needs a debuff? Like, but I mean, I'm just.
I don't know. I don't know how to fix it, because I agree that if you take it away from them, it's like they don't have anything there.
Yeah, like then you're never taking Waldreg.
I'm just thinking like the Lake Clan survivors.
Yeah, but even they've got, they're big heroes and they can ally with pretty powerful stuff.
Sure, they get the big heroes, but you have got Halbrands, who's pretty big.
Yeah,
and you could even drop them a courage. Like, they're not particularly brave in the Southlands. Like, you could drop them to courage 2.
I think I'll drop the villagers to courage 2.
Yeah.
So survivors of Lakeland have 1 tourney, right? Lake Town, sorry.
Yeah, but usually
Lakeland is a niche shot from the early noughties. But we did survive it. So.
It's still around. There we go.
Yes, they do, but I think they've got different unique heroes and are often allying with Thranduil or yeah. So
I think Southlands is the one that would take the most playtesting, because like I think it has like rules that on the surface don't look like really OP, but like maybe in conjunction they just like become just a bit of a death ball. But I mean, possibly not. Like, it might be that it's actually fine, because I mean, basic Rohan warriors are pretty crap. Like, nobody.
Yeah, that was my thought.
Really nobody's really taking all foot Rohan, so it's probably fine. But yeah, there is.
There's no cavalry here. Like, there's no artillery.
That's because in the context of the Rohan list, they don't have spears, and why would you take them when you can take cavalry? In this list, they do have spears, and they don't have access to cavalry. So
but then spears don't benefit from any of the rules that are in the game. So that would that's true. Weaken them a bit. Yeah. I don't think it's OP. I think it's strong. It's actually a bit like maybe Goblin Town, in the sense that you just like spam loads of dudes, maybe.
Yeah.
But then you don't have the scribe.
Why don't you make the options for the spear that you have to exchange the weapon for the spear, and then you have to make a decision as to whether they support or whether they get the option to do a special strike?
Or we just get rid of spear.
It seems a shame to remove the option of supporting a tool, though. It just seems like if they had spear and axe, then you're giving them a lot of utility. I don't know.
I think they're fine. I think leave them as they are for now, and then in our extensive play testing in about a decade's time.
It's not like this matters.
Maybe they just go up to 6 points.
No, that's too much.
You just get less of them.
6 points is too much for these guys because then they're like Gondor warriors, and Gondor warriors are just almost objectively better.
Just leave them. Just leave them. It's fine. Cool.
So the last thing is the Southlands villager, who are 1 less point. So actually, you're almost thinking. Well, to me, like if I'm just looking at the 2 profiles, I'm taking militia every time. They're 1 less defense, 1 less courage. They have a dagger. So the only reason you take them essentially is because of the protect the weak rule, or if you're taking Theo, you can get some of them. It's almost like because they're attacks, you are going to have to take some of them, and I think that's a bit themey.
Yeah,
maybe I should even write it into like the army building.
Completely awful. Like as 4-point models go, they're better than. Because goblins are the same stat line, but they only move 5? ?
And goblins are 5 points, aren't they?
No, basic goblins are 4. And I think they might actually lose a fight value. I think basic goblins might be fight 2.
Something like that. So maybe they're not. Maybe they're not that bad. But basically, goblins have free spear. Is it what? Depends which goblins. But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they're okay. But I think. Yeah. You take
they're definitely not awful. Like they don't give you options. I agree, but like they're definitely not trash. And you could definitely fill out an army with them. I mean, they're going to get destroyed by anything with like strength 3 bows or ranged weapons.
I know, but I like that that's the case.
I
like that they're like I think the vulnerable dudes that like you're trying to protect, but that will put up a vague fight.
Yeah. That's also what happened in the soon-to-be award-winning TV show Amazon Rings of Power, where they just got shot by orcs with bows.
They did
when they decided to start trying.
Yeah,
they also accidentally killed each other.
Yeah,
in the biggest plot twist of TV history.
Yeah, but it was definitely there. You could see it on screen. It
was very well set up, I thought.
Yeah,
best show ever. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. In news this week, there isn't much news. There's one model that was released by Games Workshop that I liked this week for Necromunda. I thought it looked cool.
What was it?
I'm not going to say which one it is.
Why?
The audience have to guess.
Just makes it more ambiguous.
Well, if there's not a picture on screen in the video, then I'm going to be disappointed.
There won't be.
Great. So what we've learned is that Games Workshop have released a model. We don't know what it is, but we know that you like it.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
And it's the game Necromunda.
I can't wait for all of this to get left in.
These are getting
It's a good thing this is at the end.
Leave in the comments section what model you think it is.
Fuck, if we get any comments.
If we get a comment, then that person is an absolute hero.
It's gonna be
my god!
I'm guessing
To have made it to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Get free premium Patreon access for a month.
Wow. Let's not make that
promise.
Join us
on OnlyFans.
We can make that promise. Hello.
Pictures of the models Mayer's fondled in his spare time.
That's what the people want.
Have you seen it's got past 100 views?
That means that you need to hand in your letter of resignation, I think.
I'll ping it off in the morning. I don't send work emails this late.
Yeah, and we've got 18 subs. Woohoo!
Those poor fuckers.
Yeah, poor bastards. Wait till we start chucking OnlyFans down their throat.
I think we need some more playlists. I think we need a Legions playlist.
No.
And a Rings of Power playlist. Yeah, definitely.
That kind of pandering to the audience is exactly the reason why I despise the fact that we now have the subscribers. I think that we just need to make it difficult to find our videos, difficult to listen to them, make it an appalling experience. And
some really controversial views that alienate a lot of people.
Definitely don't add playlists beyond just one. With all our videos.
Which is just all of the videos in a list.
And anything
in a random order.
And anything more than that, and just audience snowflakes.
Yeah.
In my day, you didn't have YouTube. You know,
Right.
you had to find videos in the wild.
Yeah.
Hunt them with a Game Boy.
That's just Pokemon Go, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't play Pokemon Go on a Game Boy.
Well, no, that's what I was saying. Back in the day, if you did, you'd have played it on a.
I think you play Pokemon Go on the Game Boy, don't you?
Pokemon Go?
He's so confused.
I'm not confused. You're just wrong.
Oh, okay.
Oh. It's the,
Have a shit week.
Right, so next week we'll be having a look at some more Rings of Power profiles. It's going to be the last week we'll have a look at them, so we'll be running through and we will be looking at the evil profiles. We've got 2 lists there because we split them up into Sauron's and the orc guy who I can't remember the name of.
Adar.
That guy's list. Adar, thank you very much.
Daddy.
Adar's list. And we'll also be looking at the Harfoots, which OT has put considerable work into.
Yeah.
They might be
no end product.
They might be the most revised list.
Yeah.
And yet still not amazing. There we go. Good. Right, so it is goodbye from ET.
Bye, everybody.
It's goodbye from the mayor. Bye everyone. And it is goodbye from me. Goodbye everyone.